Welcome back to the Arbitrage.Run show. I'm Donkey Teeth, joined by my partner in crime here, the brains behind the operation. Kevin, what's happening, brother?
What's up, Donkey? Doing all right?
Doing well. You know, we've got our football wing of the arbitrage operation up and running. We haven't mentioned that on the show yet, but we've gotten into DraftKings Rainmakers. We may be
Breaking
starting a
news.
Rainmaker show.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We had a good first week, a lot of fun, some good sweats, but don't want to derail it because that could be a show in of itself.
Right. We had a great week though. We almost won $100 grand, but you know that's what happens when you partner up with Kevin. You start to win stuff. I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, but we're here to talk about horses. Another pretty good weekend, Zed. Things seem to be moving along. We got some updates right off the top here. We want to talk about the lending update that was just announced, which I don't think I put it in here actually. Zed released a statement today saying that essentially we're going to be able to auto retrieve our horses, right?
Yeah, that's a big one too, especially for the stables that do a ton of these, and you don't know if it's going to be immediately picked up, so you don't have to basically go try to snipe your own horse out of the lending pool. I know that was a big hesitation for us putting some of the bigger names in. It's just a lot of work to do it in mass, and this enables you to kind of, I think you mark it after it's been picked up, whether you want to put it back in the pool after the time expires, or if you want to just auto retrieve. But it's a great quality of life adjustment.
For sure. So did you get a chance to listen to the AMA with the product manager for lending on Dan Chan's show yet?
I have not listened to all of it. Listened to a little bit of it, but it sounds like, from what I heard, it was very great. He sounded, super knowledgeable on that and had good plans. But I know you listened more in depth than I did.
Yeah, he's. I was very impressed. Very sharp guy. I need to go back and re-listen because I was, somewhat distracted when I was listening, probably looking at DraftKings Rainmakers cards. But yeah, he was awesome. Dan put a good AMA together. Some of the alpha that he dropped, there is going to be. First of all, he said that this was coming as far as the auto retrieve, and then bam, 2 days later, it's delivered. So that's awesome. I love when people say that stuff is going to happen, and it does happen. But he also said batch entry is going to be coming and batch retrieval, which is, it's so key because we've got, I don't know, maybe 50 horses lent out right now. And it was a tedious process doing them one at a time. And then when you got to breed and go back and look through, that's not going to change. He did say that was intended, that we can't breed while horses are lent out because they want that opportunity cost and they want, stables to have to think about these type of decisions so that you can't just blindly lend stuff out, which is kind of a cool wrinkle to the game, right?
Yeah, I'm good with that. It would be very complex if you had somebody running your horse, right, and you had a breed set up for later that day, and then they had no idea, so all of a sudden they throw it in a race, and then that gets blown up. So it's just a whole Pandora's box enabling that while also not allowing you to breed while you're racing. So you would almost have to turn it all off or keep it as is. So I'm good with it.
Yeah. We'll circle back on lending in a minute here, but did want to correct a couple things from last week's show because we want to be accurate and we don't want to put misinformation out there. So Lucky Jack, his Lucky Brawl contest, we said on last week's show that you need to buy a token. We're thinking it was like the Lucky Maiden, but you actually just go over to Dan Chan's ZED contest site, and you can just enter there and you pay through that. So if anybody was confused by that, apologies on our end. We got our wires crossed up with LJ, but we did raffle off an entry into this week's Lucky Brawl and this week's Goblin Rush and this week's Knockout. And you had to put a comment in last week's YouTube show to be eligible for that raffle. So we replied to those comments and we didn't hear back from you guys. So I just want to say that you'll have an entry for next week. If you could ping us on Twitter, myself or Kevin, it was Robbie Gagniak, Michael Steinhoff, and JMO were the three winners. So congrats, guys. We'll get you your entries for next week's contest that you won. And then we're also going to be raffling off a token for Lucky Maiden 6, which is coming up this Monday, I think, right?
Yeah. I think it's that time of the month. So it should be exciting. It's always a great time.
Coming up quick. So yeah, Lucky Jack has given us a Buterin token. And actually, I wanted to just run through real quick because, like I mentioned, it's a confusing process if you're somewhat new to Zed and you want to get into the Lucky Maiden. It's an awesome contest, but it's a bit of a you got to jump through a couple hoops to get in. So the first thing that you need to do if you do want to get into the Lucky Maiden, you're going to go over to OpenSea and make sure you find the right collection. Again, if you follow Lucky Jack out on Twitter, this will all be linked there, and you can make sure you get to the right collection. But you need to buy a token for your horse to enter into this contest. And there's tokens that separate Bred Buterins, which is the one we're going to be raffling off. The price for that is 0.02 ETH. Bred Finney, Bred Sabo, Bred Nakamoto, and then there's Genesis tokens as well. If you want to get crazy and unbox a Genesis in this contest, you can do that. And then there's different prize pools for each bloodline. There's different prize pools if you're in the Genesis competition. There's an overall thing. So once you get the token, then what you're going to do, you got to go over to zombieracing.com and go over to his tournament page on Zombie. So this is the partnership between Lucky Jack and Zombie Racing. You'll come over here, you'll click on sign up, and you'll have to connect your wallet here on Zombie Racing. You'll select the token that you purchased, and then any horses that you have that qualify will automatically pop up here, and you'll select the horse. And so you pair that token that you bought with the unraced horse that's in your stable, and boom, you're in, and then the standings are here on the Zombie Racing site. It really is a blast of a contest. Is there anything that you want to add there to that, Kevin? Did I hit it pretty well?
Yeah, you nailed it.
Awesome. So yeah, we'll be raffling that off. So this one, you actually can just reply in the comments for this YouTube show with your wallet address, and we can just send that token over to your wallet. Maybe put your Twitter handle or your Discord in the comment too, so we can contact you and let you know that you won, so you know the token's there and you don't accidentally miss out. But just want to make sure people get their prizes, Kevin?
Yeah, I would say make sure. I don't think we've made it yet to where we have spammers, but yeah, make sure it's actually coming from our legit account if we start doing Discord or Twitter messages.
Right, that's a good point. We haven't made it yet. We don't have any impersonators yet, so we're not that big. Hopefully they come soon, right? Okay, a couple of quick site updates. It's been a little bit stale here. I keep promising the historical pricing. It is coming. We just had a meeting with our dev today and ironed out a couple of wrinkles with the historical pricing. We got to kind of break down the male value versus the female value on these build-a-breeds that we've sold, so we can show an accurate price for how much was charged for each male and female. But that should be coming here in the next week or so. So keep an eye out for historical pricing page on Arbitrage.Run. One fix that was just implemented today that I know has been bugging some people out there, the available now filter on mobile was non-existent. So there was when you're filtering looking for a stud or a female to breed with, you couldn't filter for available now. So people were pinging me asking for if this horse was available. I was like, well, there's a filter. No, there wasn't a filter on mobile. So there should be now. We're also in the process of refining the distance preference formula so you can filter more accurately. I know some of the horses are being misclassified and people have reached out to me about that. But we've got a fix in the works for that. And then on the topic of lending, Kevin, we're in the process of building a lending page so that when direct lending is released, which Jeff talked about on that AMA, people will be able to come on and submit a request on Arbitrage.Run, much like the breed requests. And they'll put in their information. And the proposal here for what we are building is that you'll be able to submit a request to possibly just rent for a flat fee. So say somebody wants to make us an offer to rent Evergreen Gates for 2 weeks or something like that, and maybe pay 0.2 ETH, they can submit that offer without any sort of profit sharing split through ZED. So that would be one option. And then you could maybe submit just a straight profit sharing 50-50 or 75-20 for a horse like Evergreen, something like that. Or you could submit a flat fee where you want to pay like 0.05 and then do a 50-50 split. So we want to give people some different options and provide a way for them to get in touch with us and hopefully get some fun horses into other people's hands, right, Kevin?
Yeah, I think that'll be good. The more more variables, more customizable it can be, the more fun it is.
Yeah, hopefully that's out soon. Jeff made it sound like it was imminent. I'm thinking probably in the next couple of weeks, but give a listen to that AMA. Everybody out there, there was so much good information. And it left me feeling really good about the state of ZED, having people like Facundo and Jeff and Ryan from Know Your Horses kind of steering the ship. They know what's going on. They're very knowledgeable. It just leaves you feeling like a little more comfortable with what you have invested in, at least me personally.
Yep, for sure. There was a time where it felt like we knew more than the people captaining the ship. And then I think that feeling is going away every time I hear them talk. So that's always good.
Yeah, I mean, in certain areas, you definitely do know more, but yeah, it's good having people that know more about their specific area than we do.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, let's spin the wheel. Let's spin the
Yeah.
lending wheel off the top here. Mix it up. So last week we put Marajo in. Somebody borrowed. Did they make any money? Did you see?
Let me check while you prep the wheel.
I'll pull the wheel up. Yeah. So this week we are putting in a couple of horses from last week's spin. Is this showing up here? There we go. There's the wheel. So we got 4 horses on the wheel. We've got Triumph for Hours. We've got Newton. We've got the Publisher, and we've got Festus. So have you looked at the upcoming, because we're going to put this horse into the lending pool, Friday morning U.S. Eastern time, right?
I was actually thinking about just bouncing it around so people can't they actually have to watch and find out the time. So I was thinking Friday night Eastern. And then I don't know, what are you thinking, like 11 o'clock Eastern?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to be up.
I'll do it, yep.
Yeah,
I'll set the alarm now.
So which horse would you want here? Have you looked at the schedule for what would be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday? Do any of these kind of like fit into that racing schedule?
So I know we will have the maiden Monday, so you won't be able to do a ton there. I think you've got Saturday is a Z200 plus or something, and then Sunday is your variance. So I mean, that makes all of these viable, right? Like Festus is a great Newton's the same way. Publisher can kind of play anywhere, and then same with Triumph. I think just in terms of the best farmer, it's going to be Triumph, but Festus with the variance tournament could be fun too.
All right, let's spin the wheel. Yeah, I don't think you're disappointed if you're renting any of these or borrowing. Let's spin it. Oh, Festus.
Festus, that'd be fun.
Festus for the rest of us.
Yes, that's an interesting one where it can run a little bit like 2000 if you see the tournaments running there, or it can dominate the U shape of a marathon too. So whoever wins that, whoever pulls it, I guess, in their lending will have to decide and choose their own adventure. But it looks like the Marajo runner made about 0.03 in those 4 days. So didn't hit the big payday with any tournament placements, but I mean, you're not losing money, and I hope they had some fun and made a little money out of it.
Yeah, you can't complain about that. Oh, you know what? I did have the lending. This was the lending announcement. I added in here. All right. So there you see, you can auto retrieve, which is huge help, especially when we're lending out a horse like Festus. We're going to be able to get him back and not have to snipe him back out. So let's go on to, that's going to be Friday night, US 11 p.m. Eastern time that Festus will be entering the lending pool. Best of luck. Hope somebody gets it. Ping us if you do get him, and let us know when we're willing to take half of any losses within reason. You know, I don't even know. Are $500 races running now, Kevin? I've been so out of the racing loop the past
not at all. I don't think there's been one since 6-horse races came out.
Yeah. Well, we'll split the exposure of the loss. We'll make it a true 50-50 split with whoever borrows Festus if they ping us and let us know they watched the show.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about a couple of Twitter questions. On the topic of Arbitrage.Run, I just wanted to hit on this one pretty quick because I have had other people ask me, Kevin, about like our process on Arbitrage.Run, and I think we take this for granted, like how we handle breeding and booking reservations and stuff like that. But this person, Sheldikar, is asking, if a stud is booked, what's the process to assure the breed gets completed? So there is no guarantee. Like, we can't guarantee that you're going to get that stud. The way that the process works is a little bit different depending on what you're booking. Because we got 3 options on Arbitrage.Run. You've got the option to book a stud. You've got the option to book a female breed where you're using our female to breed with your male stud, or any other stud that's in the stud farm that isn't one of ours. Or you can take our female and our male and breed them together in a build-a-breed for a custom breed. So for a male, which this question was asking, just if you come in and say you book, I don't know, Festus for 0.35 ETH stud fee or something like that, essentially what's happening is you're making a reservation so that you have this plan in place, and you're not out there looking for a stud in the start and just kind of on a whim. You can know that it's there, and you know that when we're going to put Festus in, we'll coordinate with the buyer, right, and find a time that works well for them and for us, and we'll be putting Festus in at the full fee of 0.35, right, Kevin?
Yep, exactly.
So that's number one. Number two, if you're booking a female to breed with us, you're going to be sending us the fee directly, privately, either wrapped ETH or mainnet Ethereum. And you're going to be telling us what stud you want us to breed it with. And you're going to send us the stud fee as well. We'll take the female. We'll do our best to try to breed with that male. If we don't, for some reason, if it gets sniped and we're not able to secure that offspring for you, then of course we'll refund any funds that you did send to us, or we can try for a different male, or we can try to push it out next cycle. That's totally up to the buyer. But we're not just going to keep your money or anything like that. So you pay the fee for the female, and you pay for the stud fee with whichever male you're choosing. And then you give us your wallet address and we'll send that offspring off to you. Pretty simple, right, Kevin?
Yeah. I mean, the idea would be there's no risk of sniping if the market is correct and we're pricing it appropriately, right? Or a lot of times somebody will want to use our female. There will already be a stud in place, maybe even their stud. And they can snag it, or they can pay us and we'll snag it and we'll send the offspring on over. So try to make it as simple as possible, but it's never seamless. But we've had good success so far.
Yeah, we have a pretty high hit rate. I mean, there's only been maybe 3 or 4 that we have gotten a little bit too aggressive on the stud fees. And so I guess to your point, it is a testament. I mean, we price the offspring in these builder breeds relative to what stud fee we're using for that male. So it shows when we do get sniped that we gave you at least market value if other people are snagging those breeds, because it's not like we're booking an offspring for 1 ETH and saying half an ETH for the stud fee and then putting them in at 0.09 or something like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we're not doing any side payments. So yeah, the market is what it is, and anybody can snipe it. That's the beauty of that Twitter account. You don't have to necessarily have the heads up. You just have to have the right pairing to make it worth it.
Right. Stud master is what Kevin's talking about, if you're not familiar. So yeah, that's the third option, is build your own breed. You're picking our male and female. There will be a price associated with that breed, and you'll just send us the full amount. We'll get the breed done, hopefully, and we'll send you the offspring to your wallet address. So that's the process, just to demystify it in case it was confusing to some of you out there. And then the other question regarding this, Kevin, somebody asked in the thread when we were asking for questions today, if we do breeds with smaller stables, which of course we do. We don't discriminate, large stable, small stable. I mean, if you're asking if we're going to do like offspring swaps, which we don't really do that much anymore anyway, because the value between a male and female is just has widened substantially since the stud master account came along. But if you've got a strong male and want to sell us a stud, hit us up, because we're always looking for interesting males to breed with if the price is right. And if you've got a stud that you're looking for a female for, of course, put in a request and we'll hopefully come to terms on a deal, right? We're not discriminating stable size.
No, and something's interesting, like with smaller stables, is a lot of times they're playing in a space that we're not in yet. So if we're trying to expand into a different area, we'd actually be very interested in diversifying our stable a bit. So a lot of times it even works better than partnering with a stable just like ours.
Right. To that point, Moon Mountain reached out to us probably 4 to 6 weeks ago about breeding one of our 268s. And, we haven't put a ton of focus in that area, right? So he knew our 268s at least better than I did. And so it's like, yeah, well, I should probably be taking one of these breeds too. Turned out it kicked out some good offspring, and we learned some stuff about breed decay and all that from the breed. So yeah, if you're like specializing in some, Z100 to 200 areas, we could probably learn something from you.
Yep.
Okay, let's get to some other questions that don't have to do with Arbitrage Run. So Roid Rager, first question from Roid Rager here. We appreciate it, Roid Rager. He wants to know if, he caught last week's show and heard us talking about that Triumph for Mali with Blue Bullet pairing that we had done 4 times, and the most recent ones were not successful. So his question is, do we think that ZED has built in some sort of pairing decay, where if you breed the same male and female together several times, the success rate goes down? It's an interesting theory. I'll let you answer it first here, Kevin. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be an interesting wrinkle if they put that in. I don't think there's much evidence that that's the case just yet. And the one I would use to describe it, because there's not a ton of pairings that have been kind of married off and bred a handful of times yet. But the most high profile one has got to be Figured It Out and Grandeur. I think they've paired up probably 6 times or so, and the most recent one, like you're pulling up, is by far the best of the bunch, and that was the 6th time they were together. I think there's been probably 2 or 3 other good pairings. I think Grandeur Plan was like the 3rd of the 6. Grandeur It Out, one of our horses, was the 4th. All very good, but Felicity Force is probably the best pure marathoner to come out of 2.0. And it was the 6th time they bred together. So that alone tells me like that's far enough out of what you would expect with that pairing that there really can't be any I don't know what you even call that, pairing decay. Or at least I'd be very surprised and need to see more evidence on the contrary. I think hit rates are just pretty low, where it's very noisy at this point. But Felicity Force, amazing horse, and that was the 6th time they were paired together.
Yeah, we're dealing with small samples here, and I completely agree. I think it's I don't even think that it would be a great aspect to add to the game personally. I think it's just a little bit confusing. Like, why would that pairing breed less successfully? The other thing that we can add to that is the horse that we did talk about last week or the week before as part of that conversation, Triumph for Months, was the 4th one from that pairing. And it actually looks substantially better than it did when we talked last time. It did pretty well in that was the elite. It was the Finney tournament, I think. Whichever, I think it was the elite tournament. Actually, it had some success in. So it doesn't look. The 3rd one looks much worse. That Triumph for Seconds. Mm-hmm. So it just doesn't seem like. What did you say, Kevin?
So there's no saving Triumph for Seconds. But,
no, it looks terrible.
Good to see that Month is better.
What happened? The middle finger.
I thought you could see it giving us the middle finger.
One flame. So yeah.
Oh, but brutal. Yeah, the other 2 are really good, and the 4th one looks nice for a Finney.
Yeah, so I don't think there's anything to it. Of course, we are dealing with small samples. One interesting thing, and this is probably anecdotal too, is that I have seen maybe a little higher rate of success with firstborn offspring. I don't know if there's anything to that. I'm going to guess probably not, but that could play into it too, because Triumph for, if it were a thing, Triumph for Terms was the first of that. Actually, maybe it wasn't the firstborn offspring for Triumph for Mali. I can't remember. Maybe in the first Triumph for Mali offspring. It seems like I've seen it, but again, it's probably anecdotal.
I'm sure somebody will whip something together. Sounds right up the Blood Tools alley and Dan Channel. Throw it in front of our faces when the time is right. But yeah, I have no idea yet.
Yeah, it was the first. Triumph for Terms was the first. Maybe there's something there. I don't know.
First hits free, that type of deal where the filly produces the better than the mare.
Yeah, we do like to get our first offspring, because a lot of people will reach out for us when we get a new nice. It's the females especially. Ironic Boom. We've had several people ask, and it's like we just want to get that first one because it's nice to start building those bloodlines, and the sooner we can do it, the better. Not necessarily because we think it's going to be better than the second one, but just an explanation there. Next question here, Kevin. From Mike, HeroCraft. What have the 2 of you changed your minds most about in the last 90 days? I'll kick it to you first, Kevin.
Oh, man. 90 days. I can't even think back to what my mind was like 90 days ago. It feels like a year in this space. 90 days. I feel like there's been a lot of evolution around lending and jockeying, just that whole strategy where I feel like I know the game as well as anybody. And I feel like ownership, of horses we breed or we own. And my original mindset was, why am I going to chop 50% when I can do it myself? But with how much we've grown and how much there is to do right now with tournaments and all that stuff in ZED, I see a lot more merit in lending even some like valuable horses, because time's a valuable asset, and I can only spend so much time raising 200, 300 times a day, where there needs to be some runoff because we're continuing to generate horses, right? So I think lending and jockeying would be something I'd be open to, and it seems very timely with all the new developments in lending and prospects of it. But I think I'm much more open to that now than I was 90 days ago.
That's an interesting thing in ZED is this. Well, first of all, the time trip. It's like we're in a time warp in the NFT space and ZED space especially, where it's like, if you told me what I was thinking 90 days ago, I probably wouldn't even believe you. It's just like, that seems like ages ago if I step back into that mindset that I was in. But if I look back to like 14 months ago or something like that, there were horses that I was like so attached to and so excited to breed that now just like aren't even a blip on the radar. And I think that that's something that we lose perspective of. It's so always evolving, and the threshold of what's useful for your stable is always evolving. So, there's horses that 90 days ago we probably would never have considered lending out that now we'll throw into the pool, and we wouldn't have considered selling their offspring, and now we're selling those offspring. So it's an interesting evolution of our viewpoint. But I think my thing here, Kevin, is progression, and that we still don't know a whole lot about it. But just the idea of horses being able to get better, and the idea that this game is going to evolve into more of a game where you can progress. I think that has been something that's been missing from this, as far as like being a real game. It's like, what's the point of this game? I'm trying to describe it to people, and it's like, well, you got to lose to win.
Mm-hmm.
You got to figure out how you can take money from other people and find all these edges in it and stuff like that, versus this clear point of the game. You want to progress up into class 1, where there's going to be incentives and bigger prizes, and it's going to be prestigious to be in class 1, and things are going to be popping off, and it's going to be a huge thing if you can take a horse like maybe like a bad or a mid-tier Genesis Finney or something like that, and spend the time on that one horse and put all of your time and effort into one horse and build it up into class 1. Like that's cool. That would be a cool game, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're missing. Right now, it's just a farm fest, really, where the only goal is to, you can have fun with it, but the goal is to make Ethereum or farm Ethereum doing that. There's no progression, because the connotation of getting into class 1 is completely like, it's not positive at all. It's like, well, crap, now I'm stuck, or I got to tank out. So there's no positive reaction to progression. There's so many games that just thrive off that, and that's the value you add that doesn't have to be money. But then on top of that, like you said, maybe you invest all this time and you get a Z50 up into class 1, and then suddenly ZED has a tournament that's a class 1 tournament, but it's Z50 plus only. And then there's just so many things they can do with it to reward that type of stuff that gives you the money aspect to really reward you being in class 1. So I don't know. I agree. Let's see how they can execute it. I think it's a much more complex game economy, but Facundo has experience doing that in the past, so I'm optimistic. But should be a big next few months for ZED around that.
Yeah, and I guess from a little bit broader and higher level point of view, just my confidence in the team that seems to be running ZED now is substantially higher than it was 90 days ago.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to our last couple segments here. Next up, we've got, I want to do a little market update segment here real quick. So the price of Ethereum today is about $1,500. It's been moving around a lot today because the merge just happened this morning and it tanked quite a bit. But the ZED market, Kevin, I'm interested in your viewpoint on this. It seems to be a little bit stale, for lack of a better word, stagnant. I think there's still a little bit of fatigue going on, and people waiting for that class update. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like. We don't know what it's going to mean. Do you want to really get too much more invested in ZED when you have that kind of uncertainty on the horizon? But it's picked up a little bit since we first started doing the market update, which was probably like a month ago now, but it's still so far from that frothy market area that we were in, whatever, 2 months ago, right?
Yeah, we're just in a holding pattern. We need something new. Like 6-horse races is fun, still is, but they haven't really done anything with that, implementing it into tournaments or things like that. So we're waiting for the next big thing. So I don't think it's any surprise to anybody that there's not a whole ton of demand at the moment.
Agreed. And let's move on to a successful breed here, Kevin. Burnt Money. So just to be totally honest, as we were looking through recent breeds, there's been we could have a whole show on keeping it real, because so many of these breeds that we've sold, it's like the horses, they just haven't gotten that variance pump that you need to be like a paid race winner. I found so many of them that just like they'll flame and they're hitting second place, but there weren't a ton of success stories in the past, probably like 10 days or so, which is unfortunate. But again, keeping it real, that's part of the game and part of the risk, and a reflection of this current class system, which is why the market is what it is, right?
Mm-hmm. Some would say it could be pairing decay. Who knows?
Okay, so Burnt Money here, Kevin. We did this breed. This was a female breed that we sold for 0.35 Ethereum. Again, the price of Ethereum today is $1,500. The female was Butter My Biscuit, which comes from one Morticia was the father of Butter My Biscuit, and then Newton was the mother, and then Fly Sky High was another breed that we did for Scuderia Epic. And the parents of Fly Sky High were Y2K and Newton. So this was a Newton inbreed. Again, it cost Scuderia Epic the fee of 0.35 to do this breed, and it came out pretty darn well. 29% win rate. It's won at least one paid race. I'm not sure how many. It's done 10 paid races. So it's won 2 paid races. Looks pretty solid. It looks like a fun kind of class 2 horse, right, Kevin?
Yeah, I think this is exactly what you would hope, with all of that variance bred into it. And it's another one where I would say flames don't tell the story. You can just see the U in that graph above, and it's an interesting graph because you can see the U, and then you can also see the 6-horse U where it spikes up at 5 and 6.
Right.
So if we were thinking of like traditional 12-horse races, you see those really strong goalposts. So flames is the type where it's going to have much better odds to win than flames, which is what you'd expect with Y2K, Newton times 2, and one Morticia. So this is kind of a 2.0 success story where it hit the variance. So I'm curious to see if these win rates can hold, and if it can make a run in one of these variance tournaments.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are on spending 0.35 with. Let's pull up this file, because this was it could have been a keeping it real breed, to be honest. The first one that we did for Scuderia here, Fly Sky High, because this was an expensive pairing. I don't really remember the price, but Newton and Y2K, it's pretty premium breed. I guess it wasn't too bad. 17% win rate, 15% paid win rate. I think a lot of this was. It actually got some flames in class. Well, I guess this horse is actually better than I thought it was.
It's one of those where, like, what is your expectation for what you paid? It probably ended up right around an average outcome for the, I don't know, 1 to 1.5 it paid. Probably around 1, I think. So, I mean, great blood. Now it's a great breeder. So that's another example where don't give up on these horses that have good blood, because if they have some ability and you get the right role, they can produce some good horses, and you can just keep pumping out value months down the line.
Yeah, it's fun to build out these bloodlines, and I really like that we're helping Scuderia build out this like entire bloodline from scratch. I hope he comes back to us for another one for that that male, and we can just continue to build the whole bloodline out.
This pairing was so good, where it's, I mean, I like Butter My Biscuit a ton. With that one Morticia Newton pairing, it's a very good horse in of itself, but it looks a lot like its parent. And then the other thing is there's a horse, probably one of the best sprinters. It's like Tisha's Delicious, I think is what it's
Right,
called.
the new one, right?
Yeah, and that one is one of the. I think the mom is the direct sibling of Butter My Biscuit. Same pairing of, I think it's New Tisha is that horse, where it has the exact same parents. It's probably actually slightly worse than Butter My Biscuit, and it paired with Delicious and just produced this monster of a 2.0 sprinter. So that gives me a lot of hope around the prospects of Butter My Biscuit because it's a better runner. It has the exact same grandparent role. So we're just kind of going to have good pairings with it. Maybe we try to reach out to the Delicious owner and recreate some magic here, but that horse is a beast.
Yeah, so we did this was way back in the days of those offspring swaps, which was probably 90 days ago. That's a good thing that has changed in 90 days. I don't know when Studmaster came along, but it may have been right around then. We used to do these offspring swaps where you bring a female to a really good stud owner because you don't know when it's going in, like one more Tisha, and we do Newton 2 straight cycles. They take one, we take one, and we split the cost. So this was the first run, New Tisha, which was not as good as Butter My Biscuit. Solid horse though. Nice to see them both come out good, huh?
Yeah, good pairing.
What so what do you think the going back to the original conversation, what do you think Burnt Money is worth today? It's a Z7 Elite Nakamoto Colt. There's a buyer and a seller, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a buyer, it's probably worth gotta be close to 1, right? With that blood. As a seller, I don't think I'd sell below 1.5 until I could see. It seems like they're starting to shift a little more back to these variance types finally. So I'd want to incorporate that into my pricing. So it'd probably be like I'd be tempted to buy around 1, and I wouldn't sell below 1.5.
And how would you breed this thing out as because you can pretty much kick out some nice sprinting crosses, right?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting. You definitely want to find those pairings. I mean, look for you won't be able to make the pairing of like Tisha's Delicious, but that is like the dream pairing, right? You build out those same types of horses, same distance preference, and you'll just have a monster cross.
You know, like I was saying, Kevin, I think that this is one of the things that we haven't really talked about. But if you keep coming back to us like Scuderia Epic has, we're kind of like invested in this bloodline now. Like I want to see this do well. So if he comes, and I think he probably will, looking for a female, like I'm more inclined to, like if he says I need something for 0.2 or something like that, I'm more inclined to give him a deal just because like I want to see this bloodline continue to be successful, right?
Yeah, for science, right? Or throw him Marajo or something to see how that matches.
Right. Science, publicity, all of that. Like we're aligned now here. So we want more people to come align with us. This is a fun game, and this is that kind of community aspect of the game, and teaming up with people is very underrated. If you're not doing that, you're doing it wrong, in my opinion. Let's keep it real though, Kevin. One last one. We've got Supreme Dank. This was one of our horses. I think it was brutal, right?
Yeah, I was so excited for this one, and it showed like just enough promise early where I had hung on to hope longer than I should have. But there's not much hope left after 13 races. Another one of those where you kind of see it giving you the middle finger. This time, maybe it'll be a pity pointer if those ever become a thing again. But definitely has a affinity for coming in 4th and not doing much else.
Yeah. Hey, it's got 1 win. You know,
I think that was early, and I was like, hey, there's some hope. And it flamed early out of Discovery, and it's just shit the bed ever since.
You know, it hasn't really been tested at long distance, right?
No, we could. If it had a better manager, it might have been already.
Yeah. You know, who is this guy? Like I said, I mean, you've got Supreme and Saber Trust over here on Trusted Polarity side, right? Mm-hmm. And then Danking on Perfection came from, who were the parents? It was Dank and Perfect Cadence. So Dank's got some. I mean, maybe there's some long distance.
Yeah, that's about the only hope left. So maybe we'll tune in next time and give you an update on that. I'll throw a few at that. If not, we know it's going to be a decent pity pointer at 1,800 and 2,000.
But what was the price that you think, if we were doing this as a build a breed, what would we have charged for this, just to continue to give our viewers and customers a little bit better idea of how we're valuing these things unraced. Because again, this is coming from Trusted Polarity is Saber Trust and Supreme Polarity, and then we've got Dank and Perfect Cadence, which this was a good stud that I think we got a pretty good deal on actually in the open market.
Yeah, I think we just we didn't snipe it, but it was out there, and you were like, "Hey, this is a pretty good pairing." Trusted Polarity is an interesting one where not the best runner, but you're kind of hoping for some kind of grandparent role, and it's capable enough where it's not a total dud. Maybe it is when it hits its own genes. So it would be one of those you're just hoping for the home run. I mean, if you have like a sibling of this that would be like maybe like Supreme Boom would be a comp if it actually hit with that combo. And those on the female side, that horse would be like 1 ETH. For that one, you're getting a good discount off that. Obviously, probably I don't know 0.25, 0.35, something in that range. Maybe a little on the lower end, depending on how bad this one looks. But yeah, every cycle it evolves as we get more information.
Are you saying 0.35 for
this side? And I think we
female breed
for like 0.15. So maybe you can get this horse for like 0.5 or just below that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think we're in the same kind of ballpark on that. I agree. Of course, it's always a moving target and depends on market conditions and all that. We've got a lot of horses that we don't have a whole lot of plans on the books. We've been keeping things open for the most part so that customers can come in and place bids and everything isn't like booked. So we got a lot of horses that are available to breed with. If you are looking to roll the dice, hit us up on Arbitrage.Run with a request. Follow Kevin out on Twitter at Arbitrage Racing, no G. I'm at ZED Diamond Hands. Remember, go sign up for the Lucky Maiden 6. If you did win one of those raffles, send us a DM, either of us a DM out on Twitter, and we'll make sure that you get that entry into the Lucky Brawl or the Goblin Rush or the Knockout. And there was one other thing I wanted to mention, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. So I think we're good to wrap it up unless you got anything else there, Kevin.
I was going to remind people to look out for Festus coming into the lending pool at 11 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night. That is September 16th.